Hello. In this video, we're going to talk about the Ethics and Value chapter from the reading for this week. In particular, we're going to talk about Chapter 1, Sections 2 through 5. So, this part of the chapter begins by discussing the nature of values. So, values deal with what is really important to you. So what is important to you? With things like friendship, or love, or your family, or faith, or your health, or happiness? The things that are most important to you are what are called your values. Our choices attempt to represent what's most important to us. So what this means is that our choices tend to follow from the things that we find valuable. And values are normative. This means that they belong to some sort of standard or norm that allows them to be used for evaluation. So what does this mean? So, to say that a road is no good appeals to some standard about what a road should be like, right? So if you live in Pendleton, people are fond of saying that the streets and roads are no good, right? And this is appealing to a standard of what a street or road should be like, okay? Similarly, if I say that Veroni is honest, I'm saying that she measures up to a high standard of truth-telling. Or, if a doctor says that you have a poor heart, the doctor is comparing your heart to a normal functioning heart. Each of these claims refer to some kind of standard, and they are evaluating a thing relative to this standard. We normally act according to our values, but if something is genuinely valuable, then presumably we ought to act to promote this good. So, genuine values support and explain what it is that we should do. For example, if health is genuinely important in itself, then it seems like you ought to do what preserves and improves your health. This is because health is genuinely important in itself. Similarly, if living a sedentary life is bad for you, then you should exercise. In fact, it seems like you have a responsibility to exercise if health is genuinely important in itself. Another example, if friendship is a genuine good, then you should cultivate relationships by being friendly towards others, sharing interests, and spending time with your friends. The idea here is that values call for action. Now, value claims can also be prescriptive, right? So should and ought claims are called prescriptive claims. They prescribe or prohibit specific things. So, for example, people shouldn't lie is a claim that prohibits lying, whereas you ought to attend that lecture is trying to tell you something. Namely, it's trying to tell you that you should go to the lecture. So, there are two kinds of normative claims: value claims and prescriptive claims. An example of a value claim: this road is no good. Whereas a prescriptive claim: you should not drive on this road. Value claims and prescriptive claims need to be carefully distinguished from descriptive claims. So what's a descriptive claim? A descriptive claim asserts something about how the world is, not how it should be. This is important because the way things are is not always the way that it should be. I think that we can all accept and believe this. Descriptive claims don't appeal to any standard, and they don't evaluate. They simply describe things the way that they are. So, for example, Jeff is 6 feet tall is a descriptive claim, just like the claim, "I used to hate broccoli," or the claim that over 1 billion people will remain in desperate poverty this coming year. This is a descriptive claim. Now, when people disagree, it may seem that they disagree because they have different values. However, strangely, most people tend to share the same values for the most part. So, where people do differ is in the importance that they assign to each of their values. So, think back to the story about Bill stealing from the register in the reading. So, in this story, you have a coworker named Bill who is stealing small amounts of money from the register, and you see him doing it. And the question is, what do you do in this situation? So, for example, if you value honesty, well, you might turn Bill in. However, if you value friendship, and Bill is your close friend, maybe you confront him first before turning him in. So, it doesn't mean that you disagree with the other person because you have different values. It just means that you disagree because of the importance that you assign to each of the values. Now, there are different kinds of normative realms. This means that it's possible to make claims that have a measure or can be measured, but that these claims don't necessarily have to be moral claims. So we know all about the moral realm. That's what we're talking about here. But there's also the realm of etiquette, and the realm of law, and the prudential realm. Now I'll talk about each of these now. So the realm of etiquette has to do with what's acceptable social behavior. So, for example, Kevin shouldn't noisily slurp his soup is a prescriptive claim about etiquette, whereas everyone in that family is a value claim about etiquette. Now, as for the realm of law, law resembles the moral realm more closely than any other. For example, both moral and legal standards prohibit murdering and stealing. Many moral values are mirrored by legal values. For example, justice and equality are both moral and legal values in our society. However, law and morality differ in a variety of important ways. For example, laws are created by civil authority and only hold in certain jurisdictions. So a law in Oregon may not hold in Ohio. Laws also come and go out of existence at definite times. However, moral values and prescriptions appear and seem to be much more timeless. Also, there are important legal prescriptions that have no moral basis. For example, laws about driving on the left or the right side of the street aren't attached to the moral realm at all. Now, the prudential realm. The normative realm, this is the normative realm that deals with claims about what's in our best self-interest. It includes claims about things like health, personal safety, and so on. Prudential claims are best expressed using the if-then form. If you want healthy teeth, then you should brush daily. If you want to do well in your new job, then you should ask questions. Now, there's also an important distinction between foundational and instrumental value. Foundational value is a value that's desirable in itself. Some possible examples might include things like pleasure, happiness, and love. There's also instrumental value. Some things have no value apart from their usefulness in helping us obtain other things that we value. These things are called instrumentally valuable. The paradigmic example of something that's instrumentally valuable is money. So, money has no value apart from its usefulness in helping us obtain other things that we value. Now, some values may be both foundational and instrumental. For example, health and knowledge. But notice that we may think that almost all values are instrumental, and that there are very few, or perhaps only one, foundational value. It's important to note that it's impossible for all values to be instrumental. Instrumental values must derive their worth from at least one foundational value. Given this, we should be able to consolidate the entire moral realm by showing how its claims can be derived from certain foundational values. This is what an ethical theory usually attempts to do, to explain every claim of morality based upon just one or a few different foundational values. Now, it can do this in one of two ways. It can either do it by appealing to foundational moral values, and this bases the moral realm on a small set of foundational moral values, so various values that are morally important. The other way that it does it is by appealing to foundational non-moral values. This bases the moral realm on one or more non-moral values. An example of this is hedonism. Now, in conclusion, there are many ingenious ways of explaining and basing the moral realm upon foundational values, both moral and non-moral foundational values. We'll see that each approach generates important theoretical problems and also has its distinct merits. In addition, each approach furnishes valuable ethical insights. So, much of the fascination and challenge of ethics arises from the attempt to counter the problems while still benefiting from the insights each different moral theory has to offer.